Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the Gold Coast Suns preview. As you can tell, we're back to podcast style at the moment. Not feeling the greatest. I've taken a day off work, so I'm just a little bit under the weather. But it has been a couple of days since I've been able to put out a preview. So I thought, even though I haven't been in tip-top shape the last couple of days, I thought, let's get one out. And I thought, well, let's just keep it nice and simple and go to the podcast. So the videos will return soon. And hopefully my health will too. But anyway, on the Gold Coast Suns front, it's a bit of a tough one, to be honest. It was definitely the most difficult preview and searching for players that I had to do because they really don't have a stack of options. And there's a couple of interesting ones, but over the journey, we know that they've been quite difficult. And often the most relevancy they have is probably our number one midfielders going massive against them and getting a good captain score. But hopefully the tide starts to turn for the Suns. And in terms of a lock, I've got Matty Rowell. Now, obviously, we saw what Sam Walsh was able to do last year. It was absolutely outstanding. And all the talk is Rowell's just been just as, if not better, in terms of the numbers in the under-18 stuff. And at 207k, I think he's going to be in just about every single side, barring no mishaps through the pre-season. And also Isaac Rankin as well, I think at 123k. A former top 3 pick in 2018. He's also had massive raps on him and just didn't get out in the park last year due to injury. But he's a very exciting player, heaps of talent, obviously. And we should see a fair bit more of him at senior level. And at that sort of price, it's a no-brainer if he lines up round one, which looks pretty likely. So a couple of locks on the young gun sort of front. And I think that'll be mainly what the Suns do throw up. But this bloke that I've got in the risk category, he's a bit older, Hugh Greenwood. Now, he's at 463k, he's nearly 28, and he's played, a few games, bit of a mature age recruit. Obviously comes across from the Crows. Now, I quite like him. If you've seen my team that I picked probably a week or so back now, he was sitting there in my forward line, and I really like the potential for him to play a lot more time through the middle. Now, that's what he really has been craving, and I think for a while there he's been stuck behind the likes of the Crouch brothers, Sloan, and a couple of others over the journey, and he hasn't been able to get the real genuine time in the guts that he would like. He's had enough of it, and that's evident in his averages. He does average 6 tackles a game and 4.5 clearances. At 191 centimetres and 92 kegs, he is everything that an inside mid should be. Just needs a bit more opportunity. So I think he's going to get that at the Suns. The early stages in terms of doing my research, it looks as if that's certainly what he wants, and I think he will get more of it because at times he has played forward or been outside the stoppage a little bit more at the Crows, where I definitely think his best position is an inside mid, dishing the handballs out, winning the contested ball and tackling hard. So he's averaged 84.6, 86 and 85.3 over the last 3 seasons. Consistent, but I really do think there's a great chance he could lift that above 90. And the fact is, at the moment, there's not a stack of reliability in our forward lines. It's early days still, but it's looking at this point like early 90s to mid-90s could be good enough to just hold your spot in a top 6 forward line. So I think he's a guy that I'm strongly considering at the moment. And the breakout contenders were really difficult because I just couldn't find anyone that really stood out. I've gone, and this bloke's not even relevant, like you're not going to pick him, but Will Brodie at 435k in the midfield. I just felt, I've got a couple other names, but Brodie's not really SuperCoach relevant, but I really do feel he's the number one breakout contender at the Suns. And I couldn't find anyone that was an absolute breakout. I mean, Greenwood, to an extent, we'll be hoping breaks out, but it's not your classic breakout style. But Brodie just hasn't been able to get on the park. He's played 3, 8 and 8 games in his early stages of his career. And he's shown a real ability at times. I know he missed about 5 or 6 games and then returned in round 12 last year. 29 touches, 9 tackles, 120 SuperCoach. And even in the last game of the season for him, he did get injured against the Blues. He had 26 touches, 10 tackles, and 110 SuperCoach points. And that was from 68% game time. I think he was playing a bit of a role on Paddy Cripps, and he's a very good inside player. Now, I think he hurt his hamstring, missed the rest of the season. So I really do think if he can find continuity in his game, get his body right, he could definitely boost that average of what was 80.2 last year. I think we can definitely see that go up into the 90s, but given he's pure mid, it's just not going to be enough. Lukosius is another guy, 274k, defender, forward. Really depends what role they look at him playing. He was playing that almost distributor role off a half-back flank at times last year, and that was really SuperCoach friendly. Not massive numbers, but pretty solid numbers. And if he played that sort of role, I could see him averaging somewhere in the 80s. But if he does play forward, then all of a sudden, in a tough side, that's pretty tough to average good numbers, particularly as a developing player. But I think he's definitely a guy that we'll look at some stage in the SuperCoach life. And Charlie Ballard as well is a guy that I like. 325k, you get him in the back line. I think he's got some really good intercepting qualities, reads the play pretty well. Has had some shaky moments with the ball, but I could definitely see him putting his hand up as a pretty solid player as he and the Suns develop. But again, like I said, let me know in the comments if there's someone that I've missed that you really feel is a breakout contender. But I was struggling. And in the no chance, I've got Jared Witts. And again, this is difficult because most of the Suns aren't a chance for my side anyway. There's a stack of guys that really are solid players and could boost their numbers slightly as the team develops, but it's not going to be enough to take the punt on. And the only reason I put Witts in is because I think he's a very well-respected player and a very well-respected ruckman and scored really well last year, averaged 99.7. And I just wanted to put him in there because I know a lot of people will start Grundy, and there's a lot of discussion about that R2 position. And I just wanted to put him out there as, he's a workman-like player, but I don't think he's ever going to crack the three figures. And while he's serviceable, really solid player, I wouldn't be looking at him at your R2. I'm not sure if anyone even is, to be honest. But as I said, you could put a hell of a lot of the Gold Coast Suns side into no chance. But sorry, Witsy, you just ended up there, and it's probably pretty rough, to be honest. But there is the Gold Coast Suns preview. I will probably have a couple of podcast styles releases over the next probably episodes because I've got the day off today and I'm starting to feel a little bit better, so I might try and just get a few vids out and get on top of that again. But the videos will return, and check out my Instagram as well if you haven't already, shorties_supercoach. I've been getting a few follows on that, which is good. I mainly try to do a few stories and stuff like that, and particularly it's tough to get too much going at the moment, but once we do get a bit more pre-season news, which should be in the next couple of weeks, and then it'll just build and build and build, I'll be able to do a little bit more on that front. But let me know what you think of the video and the Gold Coast Suns. Any options that you've been looking at, let me know. I'll be back soon. Cheers.